this is John Cole with DiscountJuicers.com. Today we have another exciting episode for you, and today we're going to use the Slowstar juicer, but we're not going to be juicing with the Slowstar juicer. We could be juicing up this beautiful cabbage here, and cabbage, once again, is a leafy green. I encourage you guys to eat and juice your leafy greens, but another way to use them and get them into you is actually to use the Slowstar juicer to make your own homemade sauerkraut. I love sauerkraut. Not only does it have the cabbage in it, you could also ferment other vegetables, but the main thing about the fermented vegetables is that it actually multiplies the naturally occurring lactobacillus bacteria that is naturally occurring on the cabbage. And these are the healthy bacteria that some say can help improve our digestion and also improve our immune system. So that's what we're going to do today. So instead of using the standard juicing function, the Slowstar is the only machine actually that includes at no additional cost the attachment. It's actually called the mincing or homogenizing attachment that you just basically put on here, and now you're all ready to make some sauerkraut. We're going to go ahead and take the juicing apparatus away since we will not be using that today. Now, very simply and quickly, what this mincing attachment allows you to do is it allows you to grind up anything. Whether you want to put roasted peanuts in there and, you know, make your own fresh peanut butter made at home, you know, TriBest Products makes healthy living easy by allowing you to process your own fruits and vegetables as well as nuts and other plant-based foods in here. So you could take coffee beans, if you still drink coffee. I don't recommend that. I recommend drinking a juice instead made with the Slowstar. But you could take your coffee beans, put it through here, it'll crush up your coffee. If you want to mince garlic because you have an Italian family, you like to eat lots of garlic, just put the garlic cloves there, it'll mince it all up for you so that, you know, you don't have to chop it all up. If you want to mince up onions without crying, put them through here and stand back so you don't get any of that onion gas. It'll mince those up. I've made salsas in here. We basically made a mock vegan eggplant chicken with this attachment. Another common popular thing to do is take frozen fruits, peel bananas, freeze them, put them through the machine here, and it'll basically make a frozen yogurt-like consistency out of 100% fruits. You could also add other different frozen fruits in there. But what we're going to do today is we're going to take the cabbage here, and we got the standard, purple cabbage here that many of you guys may be familiar with. And also we have some Napa cabbage that actually I grew in my garden. It did start to bolt. That's when it starts to go to flower. So we will be putting in, the stems, the leaves, the flowers, and all through the Slowstar to basically grind it up so we'll have a nice consistency to make our sauerkraut. Now it's very important that you use a machine that's going to basically not only crush up the fibers, but at the same time it needs to release the juice. So you need to have a nice moist liquid to do this, and I find the Slowstar does the perfect job every single time. So I guess without further ado, let's go ahead and turn this Slowstar on. We're going to start putting my Napa cabbage here into the machine, and we'll show you guys how it works. As you guys could see, it's going into the machine. The machine is literally just grinding it all up and sending it out the little chute there. There's a much larger stalk right in the machine. We're going to let it chomp off one bit at a time. As you guys can see, we got some juice already at the bottom of the bowl, and here's all the fibers that's being mushed up. All right, we got a couple more sprigs here. Now, optimally, it'd be best to just juice, the hard fibrous core, like in this area of a normal cabbage. I'm noticing that because my Napa cabbage is really fibrous, this is not the optimal texture that you would actually want. So as you guys can see, the juicer is putting out not only the crushed up fiber, but also it's literally extracting a liquid. This liquid is going to be very important for the next step we're going to be doing in just a minute. What I want to do next is actually just put in some standard purple cabbage. So all we're going to do is we're just going to cut this into pieces that will fit down the feed chute. And yes, you can put the stem and all. This is what I normally use, and it's going to work a fair bit better. Freshens it all up, and you guys can see the purple now starting to come out of the Slowstar. Alright, that's it for my purple cabbage. As you guys can see, it's coming out, working really good. I probably should have cut out some of the fibers on that Napa cabbage. It was probably a little bit more mature than I'd like. I'll probably have to go through and pick these out since I do not want big fibrous strands in my sauerkraut that I'm making. So next, what we're gonna do is we're gonna take some of this Napa cabbage, and normally you'd get Napa cabbage, a nice head of cabbage that you would chop up similar to the regular purple cabbage I am. This is homegrown Napa, and it's actually quite large. So we're just gonna stick a few pieces in at a time to let the juicer grind it all up and release the delicious fiber as well as the juice. All right, here's our last bit of Napa cabbage going into the Slowstar juicer. All right, last bit of Napa cabbage going into the Slowstar. Now, I always want to recommend that you only ever use the pusher to push the produce in the machine. This is working really good. It's extracting a lot of the liquid, but also breaking down that fiber so that the bacteria can get in there and ferment these guys. So let's see, here's the standard cabbage, and we're gonna go ahead and just cut this into pieces once again and put it through the machine. Now, in general, I recommend getting cabbage such as this or a whole head of regular Napa cabbage. This is partly an experiment to see what would happen if I put my homegrown Napa in, and it was just a little bit more fibrous than I would have liked. Another thing I wanted to mention is that if you did want to ferment other vegetables, I would recommend starting off with a good cabbage base. So do, 90% cabbage and 10% kale or 10% collard greens, the same way. On those greens, because those greens have long fibrous strands in them, you may need to cut the stems up a little bit or simply don't put them through the machine. All right, so it's really working well on this cabbage. Grinding it all up and releasing the juice at the same time. All right, the Slowstar is working great. Down to the last piece of cabbage. It's really processing this cabbage, making a nice, awesome texture. I've been using this several times already to be making sauerkraut in it. It works great. That's why I thought I'd share this with you so that you could do it at home as well and start eating healthier. All right, so now we're done processing all the cabbage. What I like to do is just once the machine is turned off, I like to disassemble this, take the auger out here, get any residual cabbage that is left, and there'll be a lot of cabbage underneath the auger, so don't forget about that. No ground up cabbage left behind. Then we're going to go in here carefully and scoop out any residual cabbage. If you are using a metal knife like I am, you want to be sure not to scratch your plastic. All right, looks like we got the majority of the cabbage. Just gonna go ahead and set this back in there. Nice and easy. I do like this attachment. There's only literally 3 pieces to clean after you're done using it. Next thing I want to do is share with you guys how to make your sauerkraut. All right, John, looks like you got a lot of mashed up vegetables there. Well, you're right. How is this magically gonna turn into sauerkraut? So this is a cheating step. Technically, you can't ferment the sauerkraut without a starter culture to be very successful. I like to use a starter culture. So what I'm using for my starter culture today is a farmhouse culture, basically a live sauerkraut that you could buy at a health food store. It's very important you go to the refrigerated section and you make sure it says it's a raw sauerkraut. Even sauerkrauts that are in the refrigerated section, some of them may have been pasteurized, which means they will not have the beneficial bacteria in there. The lactobacillus is going to help this all ferment. So what I'm going to do is we're going to go ahead and open up this package here. Take a whiff, and yep, smells like sauerkraut. We're just going to go ahead and dump this package. And I only have probably like a quarter of the package left. I'm going to go ahead and dump that into my mixture. Now this does one very important thing. It adds the beneficial microbes that are in here already in there to basically allow them and give them more food, so they're going to multiply and break down the food more so it's more easily digestible, and also multiply their numbers so that when you eat this food you also will get the benefits of the multiplied lactobacillus. Now then we're going to go ahead and stir this in and just mix it up very well so we got that, new sauerkraut mixed with our ground up cabbage so that we get all this everywhere, so we have the beneficial bacteria spread throughout. Now don't worry, if you don't have any sauerkraut to do this with, you can ferment cabbage on its own without this step. I just like to include this step. Once you get it made once, you could always include your own sauerkraut back into the mixture so that you will never have to buy it again. That's the whole point. A lot cheaper to buy the cabbage than to buy packaged sauerkrauts. But just to get you started once, I think it's a good idea, because now you could taste what the stuff from the store tastes like, add the culture to yours, and then you should kind of know what it tastes like. This is especially important if you've never done it before. See, I'm going to pick out some of those strings that I didn't particularly care for. It's probably not good to process stringy vegetables, because you'll have a lot of long fibers in your sauerkraut. There's no real problem with that. It's just more of a texture thing, and be kind of weird when you're eating it, because most people don't have that in their sauerkraut. Alright, so that's the only required step. These next two steps are optional, and there's pros and cons of doing each one. The first step that I like to do is, we got some organic caraway seeds right here, and I've always liked caraway seeds on my bread that I don't eat anymore. It smells good, but also in my sauerkraut. So we're going to just sprinkle liberally in here so that these the flavors of the caraway will be imported into the sauerkraut that I'm making. Now the next thing is optional. We're going to take some salt here. I have made this actually without adding any salt before. Basically, if you add salt, you're going to be more quote-unquote safe. By adding salt, it prevents the bad bacteria from growing and will encourage the good bacteria. That being said, the way that I'm doing it, it'd be fairly hard to screw it up. But, I like to add a little bit of real salt for the taste. That includes, 90 plus minerals. I do not advocate the use of standard table salt. So we're just going to put a little bit in there, give it a little bit of salty flavor, and ensure that we get the beneficial microbes instead of the bad microbes fermenting once we're making. So now we're just going to go ahead and once again stir this mixture up. Alright, so now down to the last step. This is probably one of the most important steps to ensure that you get and make a good, healthy sauerkraut. So as you guys saw earlier, we use the farmhouse culture sauerkrauts. Now, these sauerkrauts, unlike any other I've seen for the most part, come in a special bag. Now, they don't actually advertise this as a reusable bag, although I have talked to the company and said, yeah, somebody could do that. Although they probably won't advocate it, because it'll get you to make your own and not to continually buy theirs. They did go from a glass container into these guys, and while I prefer buying things in glass, I also like this feature that they have in their new packaging. And what that is, this is a specially designed package, or a plastic little stand-up pouch that basically has in the back here, it's a built-in air lock. So it's a one-way valve that lets pressure out and doesn't let things back in. So they do this because their sauerkrauts were actually still fermenting, because it is a live food product, in the jars, and then it would be tough to unscrew the cap, or it would blow over and foam out, basically, because it's still alive once you buy it and take it home. So with this system, it allows the excess gases and airs out, but doesn't allow anything in. And they make systems to do sauerkraut, with glass and, picklet preservers and different things. And, I'm pretty cheap and frugal, plus I like to reuse instead of recycle. So I'm glad that I could found a reuse of these little bags, and they are Ziploc. I have used a bunch of these, and I only use them a few times before actually I get new ones, because I find that these guys do actually get clogged up with some of the juices the way I do this. So also I try to wash them out every once in a while. And then I've also developed leaks in some of my bags. So if you have leaks anywhere on these bags, do not reuse them again. And do this at your own risk. This is just what I do, and I'm just sharing that with you guys. So once you have the bag here, after you're done using it, you want to make sure you clean it out well. And then we're just simply going to take our sauerkraut mixture here, and you want to make sure you get some of the juice off the bottom here. That's very important. You want the fermentation process to happen in its own juices. And we will be separating this out into like 3 separate little bags, and every time you put it in there, you want to get out all the airspace down in here, man. You want this literally sitting in its own juices without any air pockets. So we're going to kind of just press this down into the bag and continue to fill her on up. Alright, so we're going to put one more scoop of the sauerkraut in there. Now, you do not want to fill this all the way to the brim. That's very important. You want to fill it maybe like 60 to 65% of the way up. We want to make sure we have enough room so that we can seal this, it's a zipper seal, tightly. And also we want to be able to, once again, squeeze out all the air. So we are pushing this down, and if I'm pushing this down, what I'm seeing is all the juices rising to the top because we want all the cabbage literally fermenting or marinating in its own juices. I'm getting the last bit of sauerkraut mixture right into my bag. Now it's very important when sealing these guys is you want to, I like to fling it down. Sometimes if I want to be super conscientious, I'm going to take like a little paper towel or something and wipe down the zipper seal, make sure there's nothing, no piece of fiber or no juice in there, because we definitely want it to make a good seal. Once again, we're going to take our spoon or whatever utensil you're using, push this guy down and squeeze out all the extra air space, and we want to get the juice to rise to the top. Once again, sealing it, very important. We're going to go ahead and seal it from the edges on in. We're going to go ahead and take out the air out of the package, and I could see from behind the liquid level rising all the way up to the top. Once we got it fairly high, we're going to go ahead and just seal this guy up and get a minimal to no airspace left in here. So that's how it looks like when you're done. Now, once I'm done, and I have 3 little packs here today, I do like to put this in a little tray, whether you use a plate or a tray. I like to put it in something, because what will happen is this will actually end up seeping and oozing some of the liquids out, which is normal. It's also going to let some of the gases off, as the bacteria ferments. Now, I just put this here somewhere for, a few days to a few weeks, depending on the temperature at present time. It's probably going to take about a week to get a nice ferment. And you could open it up and taste it and see if it tastes fermented or not. Like if you bought this stuff to know what it tastes like, you'll know how it should taste. And it should be a nice vibrant color, man. If it looks all dark and brown, it might not have turned out proper. So you want to check it out. The color will change, from a nice vibrant, purple or green, a little bit darker actually. That's just part of the fermentation process. Now the cool thing about fermentation is once you're at the point where you like it, so like if you open it up to test it, oh, it's fermented good, I like it, you're going to seal it back up and then put it in your fridge. Once you put it in the fridge, it'll like lock it in, it'll stay, at that point for a long period of time. You can store stuff, fermented for years easily in the fridge, even out of the fridge. I mean, this is old school preservation, how they could store their cabbages, although cabbage does store fairly well in a root cellar, but you could store it for even longer periods of time. The Asians have been, like the Koreans have been using making kimchi, and the Germans have been making the sauerkraut, and all peoples throughout the history have made different kinds of fermented vegetable products to preserve their harvest, through times like the winter. I'd like to do it not only to preserve my harvest, but to eat some beneficial, healthy foods, in my opinion. Now, how I like to use these sauerkrauts are in recipes for the most part. It's a rare day that I open this up and eat straight sauerkraut. If I'm having a salad, I can make a nice big bowl of salad, 1 or 2 avocados, and add some sauerkraut and mix it up. And that's my salad dressing, literally the avocados and the sauerkraut. Another thing I like to do is make a blended salad, so I could put lettuce and tomatoes and a handful of macadamia nuts and a little bit of sauerkraut in the blender, blend it up into a nice blended salad. Another way I like to use sauerkrauts is sometimes in juices. So if you make a juice and you just want that extra zing to it, give it some extra flavor, you can make a juice, put it in the blender with some sauerkraut, blend it back up. It's going to taste super good. I love to make fresh soups, so I'll make a soup, and then once I have the soup before I'm ready to serve it, I'll actually just take some sauerkraut, put it in there for some extra added texture and some extra added flavor. And probably my favorite use of the sauerkrauts is to use in salad dressings. So I could make a salad dressing, say, with tomatoes, bell pepper, some coconut water, and some, walnuts, and then, a little bit of sauerkraut to give it that zing, give it that something extra special flavor. It's going to turn out real good. The final way I got to tell you guys and share with you guys how I like to use my sauerkrauts is in basically making kale chips or other crackers in the dehydrator. So you could take the juice pulp out of your Slowstar, mix it with some other herbs and spices, add some sauerkraut to it, mash it all together, put it on a non-stick sheet, dehydrate it, and make your own crackers. The sauerkraut will add a nice zing and flavor to any dehydrated foods as well. Hope you guys enjoyed this episode learning how to make sauerkraut using the Slowstar juicer. This is my favorite juicer for making sauerkraut now because it just does it so well, so easy, and a nice low speed that's quiet. Once again, my name is John Kohler with DiscountJuicers.com. Be sure to visit DiscountJuicers.com/YouTube for special promotional offers for our YouTube visitors. Alright, this is John Kohler with DiscountJuicers.com. Today we have another exciting episode for you. And what we're going to do in this episode is compare the latest Omega horizontal auger juicers. It seems almost like every week Omega comes out with